So there's been a couple of cases that have been adjudicated, both in Ontario and in New York, Chicago, that have been in our favor, so that's a really good thing, where the adjudicators have found that and ordered that the unions have to stop the process, even for a temporary time, until things can properly be determined as far as whether or not they're an infringement on our rights, which I expect it will be found. So that's a good thing. That's slowing down the mandates, putting suspensions on them, so that's a good thing in our favor. There was 2 cases argued last week. We were hoping the decisions were going to be in on Friday, but they haven't been in yet, so we're hoping those will be in next week. One of them was for the TTC, I believe, and then another one, those were both adjudicated by Rocco Galati. So we're waiting for those determinations, and hopefully those will be in favor of us as well. These are really important, because when we start getting cases that are in our favor, it just means that more justices are going to start finding in our favor. That's called precedence, and that's what we want to establish in the court system. And so far, it's going our way. So that's a good thing. We've got some positive to be happy about in that regards. Is everybody familiar with what a notice of liability is? Everybody? People done those at their employment? I had somebody contact me earlier this week, and they received a response to their notice of liability, which I thought was really interesting. And it was from a hospital, and the hospital sent them a letter saying that the vaccine is their choice to do, that they have an alternative, they don't have to take it, they can always choose to leave their job, and because it's a voluntary situation, the hospital will take no liability for anything. So there was quite a nice reply that went back on that, I can assure you. It just pointing out to them that the whole concept of voluntary disappeared as soon as it was mandated by policy. You cannot be voluntary if somebody's telling you you have to do it. So I pointed that out to them, gave them a few different laws and some case law for them to beat their eyes at for a little while, keep them busy, and wish them good luck with that argument, because I don't think that's going to go anywhere for them. So just be mindful of that some of the employers are now starting to try and turn the tables wherever they can. Some of the employers are offering testing instead of the vaccine. Has anybody been offered testing in lieu of the vaccine? Okay. Some of the employers, what they're doing is they're saying, we're going to send you for testing, but you have to pay for it. Well, yeah, that's a big no-no. So initially I was sending out notices to assist people, pointing out Section 26 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which clearly sets out that when there's testing required, that an employer must pay for it. So there was one employer that had responded saying that they contacted the Ministry of Labor to get some guidance on that, and the Ministry of Labor said that the Occupational Health and Safety Act is silent on COVID, and Section 26 doesn't apply, because that applies only to certain circumstances related to exposure to toxins. And I thought, oh my goodness, I may have made an error there, so I need to do a little more research. So I did a little more research, and was quite excited to find under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, there's a very obscure regulation, Ontario Regulation 833, that sets out that if the employer believes that you may have been exposed or may expose to other people a biological contamination, that they have to pay for you to have testing. So I thought, well, bazinga, there you go. Sorry, if 26 doesn't work for you, we'll go with 833. So that's now going to be sent out under Regulation 833. What I really want to talk about today, though, is going forward, particularly as it relates to the children, and the fact that the government's now going to be authorizing this vaccine for the children. What I thought was really interesting is Theresa Tam did an announcement the other day saying that the studies now show that the efficacy on children is 90%. I quite frankly nearly drove off the road when I heard that, because I thought, well, geez, so they're getting the same vaccine at 1/3 the dose, which makes sense because of size, and the efficacy in the adults was 90, but we now know it's at about 48. Where the hell are you getting these numbers from, lady? Like, you got to be kidding me. So we really have to start looking at what we're going to be doing. And we really need to step up more. These gatherings are fantastic for information sharing. They're fantastic for giving us support systems so that we're not feeling alone. But we really need to start changing our tactic and start doing more, particularly for the children. And that's where my concern is. I have 6 grandchildren, and I can't tell you how many days that I have sleepless nights because I'm worried that they're going to get the shot. And we really need to start doing something to protect them. So what can we do besides just talking and writing? Because that doesn't seem to be getting us anywhere. We've been doing that for months now, and it's not really affecting change in an expeditious manner. So what can we do? We need to start educating those parents. But they're all on the other side, and I think we're all really well aware that we can't just start shoving stuff in their faces because they're not going to listen. If we start telling them, you've got to pay attention, they're just going to walk away and tell us to put our full hats back on. So we have to start looking at how can we teach them, how can we show them in a way that they don't even realize that they're getting taught. How can we give them info that they don't even realize they're getting? And one of the ways we could do something is to start targeting the school districts, the school areas. So, you know, if we go onto our printers, there's a really fabulous website called No More Silence. And that's a website where parents and family members are going in and registering their children and their loved ones, particularly young people, who have died or suffered serious reaction because of the vaccine. And there's photographs of these children and young people, and I say young people under 25, that have these reactions. It talks about why they got it. So for example, it might say Johnny wanted to play hockey, got the shot, died 3 days later, age 15. Or what have you. You know, we can take those pages, print them. At the top of the page, though, add the word missing. And that's probably really paramount because anybody who sees the word missing in public automatically assumes it's a kitten or a puppy and they'll look at it because that matters more than people to most. So put missing. And then print that information. And then just after dark, when nobody can see you know what? Go out with about 50 of them and start wearing them all over the poles, all around the schools. Get packing tape and just tape the crap out of that stuff all on the poles. Because you know what's going to happen? The next day people are taking their kids to school and they're going to see that. And they're going to see the word missing and they're going to go up and look and they're going to go, oh my goodness. And a lot of them are going to go, ah, poo-poo, I don't believe that. But I can guarantee you there'll be at least one parent who will lay in bed that night and think to themselves, oh, I had no idea, that poor child. And they're going to think. And that's going to prompt them to start thinking, well, maybe I should look into this before I get the shot in my kid. And if we can do that and save just one child, one kid is all we have to save right now, then we've served a purpose. And if each one of you can save one kid, look how many people are here. That's how many children we could potentially prevent getting this shot just by doing that. So start covering all the poles around the schools. Go out in the evening when nobody can see you, and the next morning it'll be everywhere. And sure, it's going to get ripped down, but do it again and again. And keep doing it until they start really waking up. Another thing we can do is we've got all these signs out here. These ones here in particular with the plastic. We're all sitting here with our signs, and they're fantastic, and I love them. But you know what one problem with that is? We're the only ones that can see them. And we already know why we're here. We already know about this, but we need to make it so that other people can see it. And nobody's getting mainstream media information because that's being censored. So we have to become the mainstream media. So what's to stop us? Instead of rallying here, we all go out about 100 meters apart from each other on Highway 6 with one of those with accurate information and statistics and pictures and stand on the shoulder and hold it up to the drivers going by so that they can see it. And again, you're going to get honks, you're going to get the birds, you're going to get some curse words. But all it takes is one person to drive by and cause them to pause and to think. And to say, you know, maybe, geez, you really Google that. One person is all it takes. And then that person's going to talk to somebody else and say, do you know this? Have you heard of this? Maybe we should look this up. That's how we can start affecting some change. That's how we do something different. How we can get to these people that aren't over here yet. We've got to do something to save these children. It doesn't hurt to write letters. Write letters every single day. Everybody write a letter to your school board. Send them with some statistics. For example, there has not been one single child between the ages of 5 and 11 die in Canada because of COVID. There was one that was under 5 that did, but he had significant comorbidities such as cancer. So all we need is for one child to die from this, and already the risk-benefit is out. We've already killed one for nothing. And there was recently a risk-benefit analysis that was done that was peer-reviewed by many scientists and mathematicians. And nobody could find an error in the mathematics, in the base numbers, nothing. And you know what that came out with? For every child saved by this, 117 will die. Think about that. And the only children that are going to die from COVID are the ones that are already very low lifespan because they're really sick anyway. And I'm not saying their life doesn't matter. But that's what we're going to save, and 117 healthy children will potentially die from this shot. So there is nothing more urgent right now than getting up off of our butts and doing something to try and prevent that. And that's what we got to focus on. But I did also want to point out something else too. Christmas is coming, and we're talking about kids. And Christmas is going to be really difficult for a lot of families because a lot of people have lost their jobs, and they're going to be struggling. A lot of people here, a lot of people out there. And Christmas is a time for the children. And when we're not vaccinated, it's even more challenging to be able to take them to places that other people are doing to see Santa Claus and to have some fun and some Christmas cheer. So I just want to do a little announcement that there will be a Santa Claus and there will be a Christmas display for those of you who have children and you're not vaccinated. It'll be every Saturday in December, and it will be a life-size gingerbread house where Santa Claus lives. And people will be welcome to come and see that, get a cup of hot chocolate, and visit with Santa Claus and maybe get some pictures. The only caveat to that is that you're asked to please bring any new unwrapped toys and non-perishable food items. And the donations will all be going to help those families who are struggling because they've lost their jobs. So it will be in just outside of Chesley. You're welcome to come on any Saturday in December and hopefully contribute. If you know somebody that is going to need some assistance, that they're going to be struggling, then you're welcome to share that information with me, and I will take down that information so that a care package, a basket of food, and some gifts for the children can be dropped off at their home for Christmas. It's important that we support those who have lost their jobs and that are going to be struggling, because they've given up the sacrifice of their employment, they're giving up the sacrifice of their financial to stand strong in this fight, as many of us are, right? So if we can support them, it's really important. If you have the means to spare a little bit, we would really appreciate if you can help. And I'm going to pass the mic off to the next speaker now. Thank you very much, and keep up the good fight, everybody.